So in other words, Kundalini, truly said, is the Alpha and Omega. It's Atman, it's the Self, it's Brahman. Kundalini is a term that was developed in a cultural context of India, deep within its spiritual traditions, to denote that power. And when we speak about it from the vintage point of, let's say, system of Trikashaivism, it is very well known to the scholars as the three aspects of Kundalini. It's been a year since my experience, and I can now share it without fear. I started meditating 3 years ago to improve concentration. Early on, I had visions of purple rings, strobing white light, tilting my head back, and deep sense of love, oneness with everything. 1 year ago, I felt a shot in my spine, energy flooding my body and my many emotions of fear. That night, with eyes closed, I saw demons, Christ and death. My body trembled with spasms for hours, but I stayed aware, grounded by my sleeping daughter. It passed when I realized I could control it. For a month, I saw a tunnel, white strobe lights, and had muscle jerks at rest. I worked through repressed trauma, dissociation, and depersonalization. My ego resisted, my body jerked a lot, but I placed my trust in God, whoever He is. A question: is it possible that it was something similar to Kundalini? Okay, again, this kind of question is in a way a classical one. So we keep saying this and we keep going over that ground, but it's important to understand. And this is why I felt compelled to give that first a basic background. So when we speak of Kundalini as a cultural symbol, Kundalini represents not just life force in the body. It's just one of the aspects of what otherwise is known as a cosmic force, otherwise known as that what is the deepest transcendence. So in other words, Kundalini, truly said, is the Alpha and Omega. It's Atman, it's the Self, it's Brahman. Kundalini is a term that was developed in a cultural context of India, deep within its spiritual traditions, to denote that power. And when we speak about it from the vintage point of, let's say, system of Trikashaivism, it is very well known to the scholars as the three aspects of Kundalini. The three aspects of Kundalini: Para Kundalini, Chit Kundalini, and Kundalini as a Prana Kundalini. So all of them are forever represent one force, and yet three distinctive phases, three distinctive aspects that they represent here in totality. And the totality is made out of that. So Kundalini present in everything we do. It is present now as we speak and as we listen. It is present as the light passes through the retina. It is igniting all this activity, phenomenal activity of the sensory perception. It ignites all cognition. It ignites the light in the sun, in a distant star, and it moves and shakes the galaxy at its very core. So this is the understanding. Therefore, any spiritual experience, if we speak of, any revelation, any insight, any jolt, any shake-up, there must be some movement of consciousness. I remember in the early days when I would still hold small workshops or giving private sessions. The first thing was like a rule of the thumb. When the term Kundalini seems too exotic and too pregnant with various connotations, let's replace it with the term consciousness. consciousness. That's it. Let's use the term consciousness each time we read Kundalini. And somehow it puts things into perspective without us straining to understand that. So the answer to this question of all this, what otherwise reads and sounds as very mature, beautiful experiences, in a sense of, I particularly like this, how it has been put here by what I understand to be a mother of a child, that my ego resisted, my body jerked a lot, but I placed my trust in God, whoever He is. That's the attitude. This is the attitude, is to place the trust into that what here awakens to itself, or even if it displays just that temporarily shake up, because not all awakenings are full awakenings, and hopefully some of the questions further down will give us a chance to touch upon that. Any movement in our consciousness can be spoken of interchangingly in terms of movement of Kundalini. And another helpful understanding that we are aware to the degree, or we are conscious to the degree to which Kundalini in each and every one of us is active. As simple as that. So in other words, in those of us in whom Kundalini is, let's say, in a complete and utter state of self-absorbed homeostasis, there is less of that awareness. But awareness is still there. There cannot be without it. Consciousness is obviously still there. It doesn't come and go. But it is not available to itself in its fuller measure because it is absorbed by that self-imposed slumber, as the tradition speaks about it, intoxicated by the poison it releases throughout its own body, and revels in the phenomenal experience of what we call the world. You see? That kind of like a brief sweeping outline of what Kundalini represents.